Growing up, the Nintendo DS was one of my favorite systems, featuring not only two screens, but a touchscreen as well. It was a great portable system and kept me entertained throughout my childhood. And yes, I'm guilty of playing it past my bedtime and hiding it under my pillow while Mario says, "Bye-bye." However, due to the system's success, it was naturally going to have some licensed shovelware, much like the Wii. So I decided to see what the DS had in terms of shovelware, and oh boy, did I find some bad ones. You know what's coming. I'm going to be going over my personal top 10 list of the worst licensed games on the DS. But before I get into it, here are 3 rules I made for myself. Rule number 1, the game must be licensed to some sort of property. This is pretty self-explanatory. Rule number 2, no game show games. They're just a bit of a too easy target for me to pick on. Then after that, rule number 3, no games that have already been covered by big YouTubers. I wanted my list to be unique and interesting, and I even tried to vary up the genres as well. And as a quick disclaimer, recording DS games can be a bit tricky, so please bear with me in how I record things here. I also do want to say that if you personally enjoyed any of these games on this list, I'm happy for you. I'm really glad you were able to find enjoyment in something where I couldn't. So, with that being said, without further ado, let's get started.
Wi-Fi 通信で世界中のプレイヤーがライバルだ。マリオカート DS。
Number 10. Ben 10 Galactic Racing. Released in 2011 and developed by Tantalus and published by D3, Ben 10 Galactic Racing is a kart racing game. Although I wasn't the biggest fan of the show, I did at least like it growing up. But when it comes to this game, it's the quintessential we have Mario Kart at home game. With only 3 different plans to race on with 4 to 5 course variants, there's just not much variety here, especially considering a lot of them use a very gray and muddy color palette. It's just a dull game to look at, and with some dark and muddy graphics as well for the models too. Mechanically, it's very similar to Mario Kart, but Ben can transform into one of 3 aliens, which are pretty much functioning the same as items. The drift system is weird in this game too. You press the B button and you enter a drift mode of sorts, and it just feels odd going around corners to the point where you much rather just use the regular turning for that. But hey, at least you can drive
Kevin's car.
But I have to ask, why kart racing of all things? With Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, you'd think they would go something more like F-Zero or Wipeout with very fast-paced racing action. I mean, does Vilgax really seem like the type to go go-karting? Heck, they could have even gone a bit more of a combat-oriented route like Twisted Metal, with each alien using their own unique abilities to attack. But nah, let's do Mario Kart because it was popular on the DS. That way it'll sell more copies, right? In conclusion, I mean it when I say this, I'd rather play Garfield Kart, because it at least thematically makes sense and controls better too. Number 9. The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Circle of Spies. Released in 2007 and developed by A2M and published by Disney Interactive Studios, this might seem familiar if you watched Peanut Butter Gamer's video on the top 10 worst licensed games. There, for number 4, he talked about another Sweet Life of Zack and Cody game, Tipped in Trouble. This is the sequel. The game starts with some of the worst drawn portraits I have ever seen. Like, seriously, what happened here? The previous games just used digitized photos. That was fine, so why do they have to go with this? These have got to be some of the most unflattering drawings of the cast I have ever seen. Alright, let's talk about the gameplay. This is a 2.5D platformer. Well, mostly on a 2D plane, but you can switch to different paths as well. Cody has a superpowered vacuum and Zack has a tennis ball launcher to deal with enemies. Not a terrible setup, but the level design and graphics leave much to be desired. Zack also has a pair of running shoes where he can... What? Okay, I have to admit, that's pretty good. Heck, Cody can even get the chance to suck up the ghost with his vacuum Luigi's Mansion style. But let's not have that distract from the core issues of the game. Even with that, this game is still a lazy platformer with one of the main enemies you face literal dust bunnies. They also put in stealth in the game for some reason, but you can literally just run through. No thought required. Oh yeah, and the twins both need to reach the end of the stage. There is an option for them to move together, but the pathfinding is awful and you'll find that the AI gets stuck all the time. In conclusion, this game is an uninspired mess, and I would argue even worse than Tipped in Trouble. Number 8. Playmobil Top Agents. Released in 2010 and developed by Morgan Studios and published by Joe Wood, when I first got this game, I was expecting it to be a ripoff of the LEGO games that were popular at the time, but nope! The game is mostly a 2D platformer and includes top-down driving and some minigames thrown in, and it all looks pretty terrible. After a basic tutorial, I had to drive to my objective, and I was met with some of the worst top-down driving controls I have ever seen. When I played this for the first time, I thought there was something wrong with my controller. But no, that's just how the game is. You don't use left and right to turn, instead you press in the direction you want to go in. It feels very awkward. These sections are subject to frame rate drops and they're buggy as well. During one of the missions, I found the enemy vehicle merged with 2 other cars. Good. What about the platforming? It's sluggish and stiff. The first platforming mission has you walk into a warehouse in broad daylight. No sneaking, no gadgets, just walk straight in. For a game dedicated to making you feel like a secret agent, you barely do anything related to it. For one of the missions, you have to plant a stink bomb to get rid of some robots at a hotel. Playmobil Secret Agent HQ, robots can't smell! This whole game's story makes no sense. They should have just copied LEGO. Not too different from what Playmobil usually does. Number 7. Bull BC1. Released in 2008 and developed by SmackDown Productions and published by PlayLogic International and Nixon Entertainment, Bull BC1 is definitely one of the odder games on the list. Before working on this video, I had no idea what BC1 was, so I looked it up and come to find out it's a breakdance competition held by Red Bull. Hey! I learned something new today! Also, apparently they even made a special DS for the game, which is kinda neat. Let's get the only positives with this game out of the way. I like the character creator, but who thought it was a good idea to have these skin colors available for the game? You could give your character literal cyan blue skin, like they're in the Blue Man group. In a weird way, I almost want to say I like the low poly style the game has. It's stylistic in a way, and it works well with the hardware they're using. But what brings this game down hard is the actual gameplay. It's literally connect the dots. That's it. Nothing else aside from the occasional random spin you have to do. They clearly had no idea how to take a breakdancing competition and turn it into a game, so they just picked the laziest possible choice. You could do the exact same thing on a piece of paper. That combined with music I don't care for and silly trash talk makes for an extremely boring game. Considering the concept, I'm quite disappointed. They could have done a lot more with this idea. No wonder why they didn't make any more games after this one. Number 6. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Imagination Invaders. Released in 2007 and published by Midway Games and developed by Sensor Sweep Studios, I want to be clear that this one might be a bit more personally charged, since this was one of my favorite shows when I was growing up. And trust me when I say, if I got this game when I was a kid, I would cry. If I recall, the plot is loosely based on the episode Make Believe It or Not. For the game, the plot is that Madame Foster has been taken by space bogies and you have to save her. Imagining, huh? Yeah, they sure didn't do that with this game. Starting off, the only character you play as in the entire game is Blue. No Mac, no Wilt, no Eduardo, no Coco, just Blue. You do have to rescue them or help them in the game, but you never get the chance to really play as them. Pretty disappointing, honestly. So how's the gameplay? Well, it's a 3D based game around quests and sneaky around. So first quest. Mac is tied up and you need scissors to help save him. Mr. Harriman has the scissors, but he won't give them to you until you find 10 adoption papers. Oh, it's one of those games, isn't it? You know the one. The I'm not gonna help you until you help me games. Anyways, so I go and look for these adoption papers, not even worrying myself with the easily avoidable enemies, and even if I get caught, Blue just escapes most of the time anyways. The worst thing that happens is that you just have to do a minigame for Blue to escape. These adoption papers can be anywhere. And wait, did that paper just come out of the bathtub? Okay. After you find all 10 adoption papers, you turn them in to Mr. Harriman, get the scissors, go and say Mac, and you're off to the next level after doing a little mini-game. Huh, maybe this game might not be so bad after all. On to level 2! Oh, hey Eduardo, how are you doing? You want me to collect 10 beanie baggies. Are you freaking kidding me? It was at this point I immediately shut off the game. Yeah, the entire game is like this. It's like one of those games where after you finish the awful tutorial, you say to yourself, phew, thank God that's over. Now I can get to the real game. And then that's when you realize this is the game. A glorified fetch quest choice simulator. What gets me the most upset is that the entire show is based on imaginary friends. Sky's the limit on what you could do with this idea. Why not make a game like Spore Creature Creator and have you be able to design your own imaginary friend and have them go around, do quests, play minigames, and interact with the cast? Nah, let's just create a chore simulator. Isn't that what the kids really want? Also, if you hate that one episode with Bendy in it, he appears in this game, and you get him in trouble. I mention this because a lot of people hate the episode he appears in, so there you go, I guess. Honestly, I watched the episode when I was a kid, and I didn't mind it that much. But regardless, you're better off playing the Flash games than this hot garbage. Number 5. When making this list, I noticed a shift compared to the previous 5 entries and these next 5 ones. The previous 5 entries at least had some sort of potential in being good in some capacity. As for these next 5, there is almost no hope any of these were going to be good. Take number 5 for example. Johnny Bravo, Hulka Mega Mighty Ultra Extreme Datarama. Try saying that one 5 times fast. I'm just going to call it Johnny Bravo Datarama. Released in 2009, by the way, the show ended in 2004, and developed by EM Studios and published by Blast and Mumbo Jumbo. Wait, hang on. Does this break my no game show game rule? Well, no, since Johnny Bravo was never a game show, I think it gets a pass. Plus, it's more of a minigame collection than a game show game. I'll be honest, the name of the game alone really made me want to play it, and I was not disappointed. It was just as bad as I thought it was going to be. Let's start with the first issue I have with the game. I know voice acting is rare in DS games, but this is one game that definitely could have used it. You get walls of text that you need to scroll down to read fully, and a lot of the jokes that are written in aren't funny because they're not voice acted. Also, I simply have to comment on the host of the game. He's a heart with a mustache and a bow tie. Kinda weird. I don't know what this guy's deal is. He's supposed to be all sarcastic and degrading to the contestants and all that, but I don't know, it doesn't really work for me. What about the minigames I mentioned? Most of them are terrible. There are only 8 minigames in the entire game. Weightlifting, sucking up mice in a vacuum, delivering cookies on a tricycle, that one Hammer Carnival game, flower picking, posing, which is actually connect the dots. Oh hey, Red Bull BC1! Didn't know you were going to make a cameo in this game. And a minigame where you throw away trash. Like this game, for example. The only minigame that I kinda liked was the one where you get to throw food at your opponent. Other than that, all these minigames are trash. Some minigame collections like to pick quantity over quality. This one picks neither! Number 4. Zoey 101 Field Trip Fiasco. Yeah, we're really going there. Released on... wait. 9/11/2007? Wow, bad timing. Anyways, published by THQ and developed by Barking Lizards, this is one of those sitcom games that they made back and during these days. It's kind of hard to believe, but they used to do these quite often, and used to be kind of inevitable that one of these shows would end up getting a game of some type, even though, frankly, I have no idea how you would turn this show into a game. We start this game with... Some of the worst 3D model representation of people I have ever seen. Yeah, I thought the 2D drawings of the twins back from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody Circles of Spies was bad, but get a load of this! Anyways, I'll be upfront with this one. This has to be one of the best examples of hostile game design I have ever seen. It's almost as if the devs didn't want you to have fun playing it, or hated the show and just wanted to see the fans suffer. Just about every quest in this game is a fetch quest, but they made it even less fun than usual. Let's go over why. Starting off, every single quest in this game is timed, even if the time limit makes no logical sense. There is no easy access to the map of the school as it's tucked away in the menu. The top screen is barely used, it just has a background and occasionally shows character bios. A lot of quests also have a complete lack of direction on what to do or even where to go, but let's look at some examples here, shall we? First quest. Lola needs batteries for her fam for the field trip. You go to math class and you ask if you could get some batteries. The teacher, Mr. Kirby, says yes, but you need to dispose of the bad ones and recharge the good ones for the calculators, and you can keep whatever's extra. As long as you do it before class starts. So you travel across the school outside to the battery tester and find out which ones are good and which ones are bad. You turn in the bad ones and then you go all the way to the tech room to recharge the good ones. Mash A to recharge the batteries. That makes sense. Then turn around, refill all the calculators in the school with fresh batteries, with some for some reason being in the English classroom of all places. And then after all that, you get one extra battery. At that point, just go to Harbor Freight and get some double A's for crying out loud. But that was just an example of a more minor fetch quest. Another one is where I had to help Logan get his cooler back. His cooler is being used by the science teacher, Ms. Bromwell. She's doing an experiment and you offered to help speed it along. So you go to the cafeteria to get some ice cubes for it, but be careful because if you take too long after grabbing an ice cube, the ice melts. And Zoey can only carry one ice cube at a time. But worst of all, you're never told where to put the ice cubes after you get them. Talk to the science teacher does nothing, and once again, you're timed. I'll be honest, I couldn't figure this one out. Zoey, can you please just lock in for me? My breaking point was when I had to do a quest to help Quinn get software installed on her laptop. She dropped it off at the tech guy's office and wanted you to go check on it. The tech guy, Mr. Bender, has a lot of chores for you to do, including washing his dirty laundry. I'm sorry, I don't want to play a game where I have to do someone else's laundry. The funniest thing is that the devs were actually aware, as one of the books you have to get for the tech guy is Fetch Quest for Fun and Profit. Yeah, they knew. Not to mention, on this quest in particular, the timer makes no sense. Like, who cares if I don't make it in time? The computer is still getting the software installed, right? Does he just uninstall it if I don't get his sushi in time? Ugh, this was really bad. We're really getting to the bottom of the barrel now. In case you're wondering, you spend about 2/3 of the game just prepping for the field trip and the last third actually on it. It's funny though. I would put the GBA Zoey 101 game on the list of the worst games for the system too. Let me know if you want to see a GBA list. Number 3. Big Time Rush Backstage Pass. Yeah, this one has copyrighted music, so forgive me, I can't play any of it. Released in 2012 and developed by Black Lantern Studios and published by Game Mill, the same people who published Big Rigs Over the Road Racing and Skull Island Rise of Kong, so you know we're in good hands. This spot on the list was up to some fierce competition, as some of the contenders included Alvin and the Chipmunks and High School Musical, but this game beat them both out. How? Well, let's start off with how they decided to interpret the members of Big Time Rush. Oh no! Wow. Now, we've seen some unflattering portrayals of real-life people on this list, but this is undeniably the worst. This takes the cake. They look more like the Backstreet Boys than Big Time Rush. I sincerely hope that none of the group members signed off on being betrayed in this way. This looks like crap! Not to mention they barely animate or even move position over the course of a song. In terms of gameplay, it's a lot like other low-budget music and rhythm games on the system. It's just a ripoff of Elite Beat Agents. I could just end things here by saying, go play Elite Beat Agents even if you like the show. I really don't have much else to say other than it's the laziest game on the list. Also, since I can't play the music, rest assured all the songs are just low quality versions of music from the group. Not much else here to say, but big time rush? More like big time stink, am I right, guys? Guys? Number 2. Garfield Gets Real. Did you think I would make this list without including the Garfield game? Yeah, I had to include this on here. Released in 2009, 2 years after the movie it's based on came out, and published by Zoo Digital and apparently developed by Gravity Eye? I don't know, they don't even have their name in the opening splash screens. Probably tells you a lot about this game already. This game earned its spot on the list as it has by far the worst controls for a DS game I have ever seen. Garfield Gets Real's controls are fundamentally bad, and a big reason is because it doesn't explain anything to you. They just throw you in and expect you to figure out the touchscreen exclusive controls. How it's supposed to work, in theory, is by you swiping the bottom screen to make Garfield move and do things, but none of it is explained, and half the time Garfield just does whatever he wants, it seems. And no, using the buttons is not allowed. As I mentioned, the touchscreen is the only way to control this game. Anyways, level 1. A bunch of books are flying at you and you need to catch 30 of them. Honestly, the stage is not very hard at all, it's just a bit repetitive. Plus you have an applause meter, which I don't quite understand. In stages, you randomly get the spotlight to dance, which I think increases the rating? Doesn't really matter either way. Anyways, get all the books and head to level 2. Bargain bin movie, huh? Yeah, you hit that nail right in the head. Level 2 has John making breakfast for you, and you need to collect 35 food items to advance. But be careful, John is a psychopath and will throw plates at you sometimes. Honestly, pretty much the same as level 1, not much else to say here. Then we come to level 3. Garfield is in the park and he needs to make it through. This is where the bad controls really come ahead. I cannot get Garfield to stop moving as soon as he starts, and it's a one-hit kill. A single hit from a swing will take Garfield out. I could not figure this part out, and I shouldn't feel bad because most people couldn't get past level 3 either. But don't worry, I'm not missing out on much as there's only 7 stages in the entire game. So even if we excuse the bad controls, you're left with an abysmally short game. It's also kind of funny that there's also a remnant of the old game design philosophy of make it harder, not longer. Before we get to number 1, some dishonorable mentions. Drake and Josh Talent Show. I couldn't play this one for more than a few minutes before I got a headache from motion sickness, so I couldn't get this one a proper review. Journey to the Center of the Earth. A mediocre game. The only reason it's here is because of the hilariously monotone screams whenever one of the characters falls. Take a listen. Turbo Super Stunt Squad. One of the blandest racing games I've ever played. Ben 10 made it on the list because it beat it out in poor theming, but if you want a number 11, this is it. Then finally, a mention? I'm not sure where else to put this one. Nacho Libre for the DS. This game is too weird not to mention. Part wrestling game and part minigame collection with movie clips. This game just has such an uncanny style when it comes to the characters and animations, and honestly, this one's just weird. Kinda reminds me of Angelina Anaconda in a way. Alright, this is it. Number 1. MMs Adventure. I want to start off by saying I played all 3 M&M's games for the DS. M&M's Break'em was just a boring puzzle game. M&M's Kart Racing was better than both the Wii version and Ben 10 Galactic Racing, which just leaves us with M&M's Adventure. Released in 2008 and developed by Nikotova Games and published by Zoo Digital, M&M's games have always had a bad reputation. But how did this game fly under the radar for big reviewers is beyond me. The game is a 3D platformer inspired by Super Mario 64, which also happens to be on the DS. Go figure. The game starts and we have to collect 120 M&Ms. Oh, come on! You can't tell me that was just a coincidence. They picked that number on purpose. Anyways, We play as a red M&M and we begin our journey to collect all 120. Yeah, the game looks terrible, it plays terrible, and it sounds terrible. This game is also rather buggy as well. Sometimes I find myself clipping through the floor into objects. Everything seems improperly placed, and during my first time playing, I had the player model disappear somehow. Unfortunately, I did not get footage of this happening. The closest I got was getting the camera stuck in out of view of my character, but I have seen at least one report of something similar happening to someone else, so I know this wasn't just me. Each level is also themed around the holiday, and there are only 5 levels, not counting the hub world, but they do have a boss at the end. Take Cupid for example. You have to jump on these platforms and hit a button. That's it. That's all you do. You don't have to attack them, not like you really have an attack to begin with, meaning that this is all you do during the fight. The levels are fairly short, but the game pads out its time by making you replay them with the other M&Ms. The level design reminds me a lot of data design games like Ninja Breadman and Anubis II, which isn't a good thing by the way. Quite honestly, this game is only a tiny step up from those games, which might seem like a compliment, but what really gets me about this game is the blatant desire to be a game like Super Mario 64. I put this game at number 1 because this game is not an insult just to Super Mario 64, but to 3D platformers in general, and of course to the player. The fact that M&Ms went all in on games during this time while having no clue what made a good game good is all the more reason to hate these cash grabs. May you be devoured in the darkness for what you are, an M&M. Phew! That took a lot of work to get done. I had a blast working on this list and exploring so many different games. I want to give my special thanks to my girlfriend Carol for suffering through these games with me. If it wasn't for her, I would have completely lost my sanity, and this video would have never been made. I did want to say something too, especially towards those working on these types of games that I looked at. Let's face it, when it comes to game development for these small to mid-sized companies, they have to rely on these licensed games to stay afloat sometimes. For some people, it meant getting a paycheck. And quite honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. We need to make a living, and sometimes that means making something like the Jonas Brothers game. At the end of the day, I don't blame these developers entirely for how these games turned out. A lot of these were just products of circumstances, and I just wanted to give my final thoughts in an understanding way on how things could turn out like this. That being said, if you enjoyed the video and watched all the way through, thank you. I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe if you have not already. Be sure to comment about what you liked, if you grew up with any of these games, or if you know of one that I missed, or even if you have any suggestions on what I should play next. Either way, I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you have an amazing day.